Hello my friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm excited about this video. What I have in store for you today is we're going to take a look at my 2025 reading journal. This is the first one that I did as a dedicated journal. So I'm going to take you through what it looks like. Plus I have a bunch of tips for you if you are new to doing book journaling, or if you kind of want to try some different approaches to it because you've been doing it for a while and want to change things up. So I have a lot of thoughts on things that you can do to get started or to expand the way you're using your reading journal. Then I have a flip through of my 2026 journal. This journal, I do have some setup videos on my channel already, but I'm going to take you through a flip through of what it looks like now, how I'm using it. You'll get to see it a little bit more in process. And then I have a couple more tips for things that I've changed moving from the 2025 journal to the 2026. So let's go take a look. Okay, so this is my 2025 reading journal. It was the first year that I did a dedicated reading journal. In the past, I had kept track of my books mostly in an app. And then for a time, I did also keep track of some of the information in my planner. This particular journal is from Archer and Olive. Now in 2024, they had their Black Friday sale, and I purchased this book. This is, I think, 128 pages, so it's on the smaller side for an Archer and Olive if you are familiar. I purchased also one on their Black Friday sale this year, so this is the same size and so on. I just pulled this out to just give you an idea of the size difference when it's all bulked up and lovely from all of my reading journal things. So that's kind of the chunkiness that I experienced personally, because these are the same size. So this book, when it was on Black Friday, they sold it for, I believe, $12. So that's actually why I decided to make this be my reading journal for 2025, given that it was my first one. I wanted a low stakes situation. And I think many of you can probably identify with that. I wanted to not risk feeling terrible about if this didn't work out for me, if I let it slide, if I just needed to kind of experiment with it and so on. So I think you can all identify. So I wanted the quality that you can get from an Archer and Olive, but also I wanted to keep it low stakes. So that's why I elected to use their doorbuster Black Friday book. I've gone into one of their more expensive books for next year, for 2026, so I'll show you that one. But that was the reason that I chose this particular book. Now, that would be maybe one of my first tips, is to go low stakes, something that you would love to keep if it really sticks for you, but that maybe doesn't feel like you have wasted money or effort if it just doesn't click for you. So that would maybe be my first tip. Let's go ahead and take a look. I won't talk through all pages, but I will come back and talk through when I have a tip or if there is something particularly unique about the page that I think you would like to know about. So right away, I actually thought that I might want to do other media in here as well, TV shows and movies and so on. But to be honest, I don't watch a lot of either of those. So the few that I did, it didn't actually occur to me to come out here and put them in. So I've definitely just became a book journal for me. And then this here is my year in pixels. So as you can see, I had both reading and listening time that I was tracking on here. So depending if it was a slash or a dot. So this is complete as of the end of the year. I do want to point out something that I thought was kind of funny is I highlighted in gray this one day. There's only one day in the entire year that I didn't in some way consume a book. So either audio or reading or both. There was only one day. When I went back and looked at what day that was Black Friday. So I don't know what that says about me, but I feel like it says something. So that's epic shopping trips are maybe the only thing that can pull me away from reading, I guess. Okay, so that's my year in pixels. This is where I was going to track my book club. I was in 2 book clubs locally, the B&B, which is Books and Beverages book club. I actually just never found I wasn't really connecting with the books that they were reading. So I kind of bailed after a little while. This is the one that I'm still in, and there actually is a setup in my new journal for that book club. I started this actually as just one page to just do books acquired, but I had a crazy year of acquiring books. I actually got rid of a lot too. I added this tip in to try to accommodate that, but then I found, you know, it just wasn't the right place for me. I have it tracked in my app, and writing it down here, I just didn't find that I had a desire to keep it up after a while. So I didn't carry this one into my new journal. I may change my mind about that, but I stopped with that. This is another one I struggled with. If you saw my setup video for 2026, I mentioned that I struggled with this. I wanted to do the series in a creative way, and so I just took some craft paper and cut what looked like shelves, and then the idea was to draw in books for the various series. And unfortunately, it just became too difficult to set up. Like, I just felt like I had to look things up and figure out how many books and figure out which shelf it could go on that would fit that many books. And then I had this one, which turned out there were 5 books and I only colored in 4. I only created 4. So it just became more challenging than I think that I was in the mood for. So that would be my next tip, is to, especially if this is your first book journal, is to just keep things simple for anyone, particularly for spreads that you might want to come back and reference. Like the series tracker was one I wanted to come back and reference when I was thinking through what books might come up next. And I'll have a little more to say on that when I show you the 2026 version of this, but that's what I set it up. I did create this one. This is one I might still add in my 2026 journal, but I actually had this shelf, which is series that I tried the first book on and then decided not to continue it or was unsure about. So I think that's maybe not a bad idea to carry that one forward, just to have that information as well. This is a Read What You Own challenge. This is just a challenge for me that I did for just books that have been on my shelves that I've wanted to read, physical books that I own. And so I've colored in the ones that I ended up reading. I've done the same in my next year. And then I'm in a traveling book club, and I was tracking which books I received in this from the group, but this petered out pretty quickly too, because I started tracking it in Excel, which was a much easier way to track. This was kind of complicated, if I'm honest. I had this rating system. This came from Aaron Smith in Australia. I tried it for a little while. It didn't click for me. I'll say that I actually really like this system, and I like the way she set it up. What I think is missing, and what I think I want to try to modify as I think about it for next year, for 2026, for this coming year, is I would like to find a way to give bonus points to some degree. So for example, there are going to be just some books that, you know, the characters, well, I might rate them, let's say on this one, it's a rating of 1 to 5 for each of these. And then you divide the whole thing by 5 to get to your 5-star rating. But sometimes there are books, for example, that the characters are just so incredibly amazing that I want to give 6 stars. Or, you know, on my 1 through 5 rating, I want to give 6 because I feel like that area is so incredibly fantastic above, that it kind of makes up for, I guess, lacking in other areas is what I would say. So I'm trying to figure out how to take her system and modify it a bit to account for that. But my tip here would be, if you're starting out and you don't already have a system, you don't need a system. You can absolutely, and what I'm doing largely right now is just gut feel, and that is a perfectly valid way to do it. And I would venture to say how probably a lot of people who are putting their reviews on Goodreads or Amazon or all the various platforms where they can put star ratings, I think for most part that probably is how people are rating. So don't overcomplicate it, especially out of the gate, because it's just more admin work for you to start with. Okay, moving right along. This is an annual challenge that I like to do. This is the Romanceopoly board for last year. I just glued in the board here. I started tracking some things, and then that petered out, tracking it actually on the board. But effectively, there were 4 seasons for the challenge, and then what I did was these were created by the Romanceopoly team who creates that challenge. and I printed them off. So each one of these were effectively the challenge ones, and then these were bonus optional ones. And I just did a black and white printer and put the book covers on the back of what I did. So in retrospect, this was not a very good way to handle these, to be honest with you. I liked having them in here and kind of having them feel like they were cards, but having to take them in and out and look on the back and see which book I had planned to read and all of that just actually became more work. So while this is kind of fun to do it this way, I like the way I have it for the next journal, which you'll see momentarily. Then this was just a reading challenge that I was doing on Goodreads. So I don't even remember who set it up, but I just went ahead and replicated it in here. There were effectively 37 prompts. Why 37? I couldn't tell you. I didn't finish it. You can see that there are four, that I didn't complete. A lot of challenges like this, I just kind of, whatever I'm reading naturally, I see if it fits in, and then depending on my dedication level as to whether, towards the end of the year, as to whether I go out of my way to read something that finalizes those prompts. All right, on this side, this is the Year of Goober Challenge. Many of you are familiar with this, I'm sure. So each month there are 2 prompts that can be completed. I know it's super busy, but it's fun. The fun thing about the theme that they did last year was that it was based on the birth flower for that month. And conveniently, Coffee Monsters Co. also did a birth flower theme. So I purchased Coffee Monsters Co.'s stickers that had these little drawings, these doodles that were birth flowers that coincided conveniently. So it felt like serendipity to me. So that's my Year of Goober. Last year was also Jane Austen's 250th birthday. I was planning to read all 6 of her published books that were published in her lifetime, and I didn't get to a single one of them, to be honest. I don't think I was in the mood for a classic last year at all, so that happened. This is my next tip for you. If you are one of those people who uses one of these small printers that prints on the mint paper, I'll show you what that looks like. A lot of folks do use these. If they don't print on their home printers, they'll use these to print off. And you can print, it's a sticker paper, sticker photo paper, and many people will print 4 book covers on here, and then they'll use that. My tip for you is that this Post-it, which is just one of these cut in half, these small Post-it notes, I just cut it in half, and it's pretty darn close to 1/4 of one of these pages. So it's a really good way when you're setting up if you're gonna use this method, it's a very quick way for you to figure out the spacing on things so that you know that where you can put pictures or where you plan to put pictures. I had the same setup over here in all these spaces so I could double check that these would all fit as well, and then I just removed the Post-it when I was ready to put the sticker down. So that would be a good little tip I have for you. You could also do the same if you were gonna print these on sticker paper or just regular paper and glue them in or whatnot. If it happened, this is just a really nice size, to be fair, and I think this is 1.5 inches if you put it in a Google sheet or whatnot and print them that way, which again is about half of one of these will give you that. So that's just a really nice way to figure out your spacing and get the visual of where book covers may go. Okay, so I did this, a spread for each month. You're gonna see this consistently. I carried it through into next year as well. I like it. I will tell you that this particular sticker set was a sticker set that I received. It's a 12 months. There was a sticker set with a different theme for each month, because then I had a theme already defined for the month and I just picked that up, just had to draw this in. It made it easy. So that would be my next tip, is if you were gonna do something for each month, either go through and pick your theme now if that could be overwhelming or a deterrent to you getting your page set up, or just find something that already has 12 months already laid out for you and just use those. So that'll be my next tip. Okay, as I move along, here's where I was really experimenting. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in terms of individual book reviews. So I tried this process first. Now, I will say, for me personally, I'm not a big reviewer. Even when I put a review on Goodreads, which I do on just a portion of my books, I just don't feel the need to write a ton about books. I tend to write down more things that would be a memory jog for me. So if I think back on a book, or if someone asks me if I've read a book, it's more that I write it down to remember what the book was about as a memory jog. So the review's not important to me. I envy those who can sit down and write a page and a half about the book they read. That's just not me. So I was experimenting here, pretty uninspired with this approach, and you'll see so much so that I kind of petered out on it. So then I tried doing this full page spread, and I love the way this looks, and it included trying some lettering style that were based on the lettering on the book, which was more of an experiment for me, so I could see if I could replicate that. I'm not super great at that, but I wanted to try it. So I really love this spread. Then I inserted an annual challenge that I learned about in January. So I retrospectively got it caught up and added it. And then that takes me to February. Again, a theme that was established by that sticker set. And then on here is color coding with when I interacted with the book, and then just an overall list. Okay. And I continue with these reviews in the much more elaborate method. I will say, if you're going to take a look, you're welcome to zoom in and take a look at my reviews. There probably aren't any terrible spoilers because I use these as memory jog, but there are definitely going to be a spoiler or two on some of them, so proceed with your own at your own peril. Then I started doing this, which I liked for some books, either that didn't particularly resonate with me, or in this case loved it, but it was just a novella. I kind of liked the smaller page, but still having the decoration. So this was an approach I ended up appreciating. Then we're into March. Now I was averaging maybe 14 or 15 books a month, and then as we got to the later part of March, I really started ramping up. I started getting involved in more and more reading challenges, and in particular, a monthly bingo challenge that I was then thinking, you know what I'm gonna try is I'm gonna try to get a blackout every month for a little bit and just see how I feel about that. And I would say I loved it. It's probably not for me long term. So, and you'll see I didn't come back and put the star ratings on these, even though I got the dates in and so on. So, you know, maybe someday I'll come back and update them. Not too worried about it. Okay, and now we're getting into a point where, let's just be real here. So at this point, let me go back a page. At this point, I'm in early March. And I started looking at where I was at in the book and realizing that I was getting pretty close to halfway through this book, and I was only in March. So I started thinking through, okay, I don't know, as I started increasing my reading as it got to later March and then into April, as I was starting to look back to update this book for March, I was realizing I needed to start either condensing or not doing reviews on everything, because I wasn't, to be honest with you, interested in having 2 book journals for the year. So I did something, for example, here, I knew after the first book in this series that I was going to read all of the books, and so I decided just to make a spread for all of them. So all I needed, again, was a little memory jog because I love this series. So that's what I did here with this particular spread. And what I did from here on out is I reserved pages for the monthly spreads, and then I decided from that point forward I was just going to do book reviews on ones that inspired me. And that means either the book had a special place in my heart, whether or not it was a 5-star read, or I thought it would be fun to do decoration on. So my reviews live in my app if I ever need that memory jog, but from here on out, it's not all of the books that I read. It's not even probably maybe a third of the books, but from here, and they might be out of order. We'll talk about why in just a minute, but from here on out, I really shifted because I increased my reading and had less time for the journal. So here's where I would start to give you some more tips for doing these journals. Now, one of them being, you don't have to put every book in there. This is a combining of two of my hobbies, which is paper crafting and reading. But I don't feel in any way obligated to review every book that I read. I'd like to keep the notes in my app, but I don't need to put it in here. But here's what I would suggest from here on out. You'll see that I started to really shift. One of the things that I did was I started making note of books that I thought I might want to do reviews on in my journal, but I also started saving them and combining them when I felt like I could just do one common spread that looked similar, was very easy for me. Like this was just cutting a piece, tearing a piece of paper in half diagonally and sticking it to the two sides. So you'll see that going forward, they will start to have common color themes and so on to make it really easy for me to still do the journaling part of it and still have it decorative. Here's another example of a way that I combined them. They have similar colors, so I created the base of the decoration basically. But here's a perfect example where you can get a base down. So for example, putting this is just scrapbooking paper, putting this down and then move on and continue on your life and continue in your journal. And then maybe, what might happen for me is I'll run across some stickers that would be relevant here and I can put them right in this area here. But in the meantime, there's still some level of decoration. That's what happened here. I ran across a small sticker sheet that had an octopus on it with a couple other little marine characters or items on it. So I just came back and stuck them right on here. So you can decorate again later if you have this kind of reserved area, and then if you don't, that's okay. It's still decorated and you still have your review. Here's another example where I just took a paper, scrapbooking paper, and if I come across things that I think are relevant, I may still come back and add a little bit more decorating element. This was an interesting one. One of the book challenges that I did, and I don't have most of the book challenges in this particular journal. I'll resolve that in 2026, but one of the reading prompts that existed on one of the challenges I did over the fall was that you read two books with the same title. So these were the two that I chose since I'm a fan of thrillers, so The Wife Upstairs for both of them. And so I thought it'd be fun to just put them on the same page, and that reminds me with a smile, because I thought that was a really creative prompt, because there are a shocking number of books out there that you can find that have the same title if you need to read two kind of in quick succession. So, but here's the funny part is that when I started writing the review for this one, I wrote kind of half the review for the Rachel Hawkins book, and then the other couple sentences were about the McFadden story, and I read it back and I was like, that's not right. So I actually had to cut a piece of paper and put it back over and fix my review. So I did get them crossed up a little bit, to be fair, but I thought that was a fun prompt, so I did that. And then I'm here into April, so now I'm knee deep in reading lots of books. This is 28 in this particular, 28 finished. I probably DNF'd a couple too. So this is where I'm getting kind of knee deep in heavy monthly challenges here. Okay, and then in May, there is a Goober Readathon that involves a particular theme. This one was a botany theme. So these are all the different categories. I actually have a tip in here that shows each of the categories, and then the little dot I put here is how many points you get. In these particular pages, you had to read from left to right. So I couldn't read this prompt until I read this prompt in each category. So they go left to right. That's the requirement there. So if I was going to leave one off, obviously it'd be my 3-point book because I couldn't get to it yet. And then these couple prompts you could do in any order, but there were prompts. There were actually 3 prompts that were not book related at all, which I thought was really fun, to be honest with you. And then here I added up each of those categories and how many points I got. And then in the end, I landed in the highest category, which is the haunting herbologist. So I put that here in that cute little frame. I think this was my biggest reading month, 30 books. It was a lot. I don't recommend it, actually, not for me anyway. I enjoyed doing the very intense reading challenges for those couple of months, but you'll see that I start to back off. It was fine for then, and who knows, I may do another cycle of that again in the future, but I think just for a short time, maybe. To keep up that pace, I think my retention really dwindled. You'll see that I put the months back to back here because I knew that I was going to have very little room for any other reviews at this point, so. And here I'm much more back to kind of where I normally land. I seem to land in the 13 to 15 books a month when I'm just kind of doing my thing. And I just have a couple more reviews back here. And then I actually do have some blank pages in the back. So I could add a few more reviews if I want. There certainly are, I would guess, around 100 some books that I could still put in here. I don't know that I'm going to. I do have a lot of reading challenges that exist in my planners that are actually separate pages that I've stuck into my planner, so I could pull those out. I have thought about pulling them out and putting them in here just so I have all my reading stuff together, because it would in no way damage my planner because they're tipped in. So I may do that at some point. We'll see. But anyway, that's my 2025 journal. Let's take a look at my 2026. So this is an Archer and Olive notebook. I believe I actually got this also from Black Friday in 2024. So I had it waiting. It was the only square notebook I had, and I knew based on my experience with the A5 notebook from last year that I thought a square journal would be nice, particularly since I'm much more about the challenges than I am about the reviews. So I will tell you, I'll pop in a little video here. This book started falling apart within the first week or so of me using it. I'll show you a little video I took of it that I didn't put in the setup video, but I did end up having to do some repair on it rather quickly, so that was admittedly a little disappointing. I have multiple other A5 notebooks from Archer and Olive that I'll clearly use. I'm just a little more hesitant, honestly, on the square one. I'm not the only person who's had that trouble, so too bad about it, and hopefully whatever happened was just a fluke for some journals that maybe didn't get through quality control as well as hoped. But basically what happened was the spine completely became detached, and so I glued 2 pages together in hoping that that will keep these together, because it was in between this page and this page basically that it came apart. So gluing these 2 pages together is effectively what's holding the book together at the time. I might have to do further gluing. So far it actually seems very stable, so I think that's adequate for sure. So we'll see. I'll report back on how that's going. But this is my 2026 journal. Of course, my header page here. This is the tracker that I've set up for just tracking stats across the whole year. I've never done that before. I do have it in my app, but I think it'll be interesting to see trends and so on as it goes through the year, especially genres. I'm curious on the genres, to be honest with you. Okay. So this is a spread that I actually just set up today. In a few minutes, I'll give you the opportunity to take a look at the setup if you're interested. But basically, this is another challenge I just added for myself. I will later print a label so that I have a header here, but let me tell you a little bit about this challenge. I was thinking through, I have my big challenge for the year. I'm gonna jump ahead and show it to you really quick because I think they're related. They are in my head anyway. So I really have only taken on one challenge, now two, but one challenge for the year, and that is to physically read 52 books. So I do consume books a lot on audio, and I would guess maybe 25 or 30 physical books a year. It might be a tad more, but it's not much more than that. So my goal is to physically read, holding it in my hand with my eyes, 52 books for the year. And this is the spread that I've set up for that. So you can, it's pretty light in here, but you can probably see that there's a 2 here and a 51 here. So I know I'm on my second book, and when I complete, and I have 51 to go. So once I complete it, I'll be on my third with 50 to go. So this is where I'm tracking that. My objective with doing that is because I waste time on other activities, and having this as the added motivation to maybe spend a little less time scrolling or whatever, insert, time waster activity here, to spend just a little less time doing those things and to focus on reading. I chose 52 books just because it's kind of an easy target to say, well, ideally by each Sunday-ish, I will have finished another book. So it keeps it in my awareness to begin to shift time spent on activities that, quite frankly, I know are wasting my time. There's that line, we all know it, right? Between vegging out and having much needed downtime and then it getting to ridiculous proportions. So that's my objective here. And I got thinking about it a little bit more too. So that really works for me. But one thing I think is kind of missing a little bit with goals is just getting away from a hyper fixation on quantity and wanting to move towards quality time spent. So I've added a second goal for myself. It may negatively impact this one, and that's okay. I think they'll actually help each other out. But that goal is that I want to spend an average of 6 hours per week physically interacting with books. So what do I mean by that? Effectively, I have built out a grid that has 312 hours on it, if you will. So each one is 2 boxes high, so a box is actually technically half an hour. So on average, I would like to spend 6 hours a week actually interacting with the book. And what do I mean by interacting? What I mean is I'm actually spending time physically reading, perhaps taking notes on, perhaps reflecting on, maybe annotating. I am an annotator, not all for all books, but for some. So taking the time to slow down and actually physically enjoy the experience of having a book physically in front of you. So this is, for me, for this challenge, it is related to physically interacting with a book, or journaling about it after. If you're somebody who writes down quotes or something, I would personally count that. If you choose to take on something like this, I would personally count writing down quotes or whatnot. But for me, it's all about the physical interaction with books and counting the time in which you are cherishing your experience with the book, including, like I said, annotating and making notes and so on. So that's my attempt to also show value in slowing down and physically interacting. So that's what I'm gonna do here. It does have this a little bit funny shape, admittedly, because I want to have a gauge throughout the year as to where I'm supposed to be. And so I know that this is every 2 weeks effectively, so I can at least gauge where I'm at. Now these numbers down here are actually written with friction pen, so I can erase them. I probably will erase them. It's just a gauge for now, and I may erase them. And then what I've done is, as I'm tracking, how much I've completed, I want to just put down how many hours per month I've actually interacted. And I actually ended up using this same color key here. So this spread will end up having a very cohesive look to it. So that's my plan. And now why do I have these little partial ones? Well, because there's part of a year. There's part of a week involved here. So for example, the first started midweek. So for these 2 weeks that I'm tracking here, I have a little bit less for here because the first week is or the last week of the year is actually a half week and considered week 1 of the next year. I just have half. So there's 3 hours because it's half a week. So that just helps me continue to gauge where ideally I should be in there so I can see how I'm doing with that challenge. So I hope that makes sense. It may have been confusing. If you'd like to see how I set up this spread or see my setup timing with it, I will go ahead and show that now. If you are not interested in seeing the spread and you want to just continue on my flip, then this time here is where you want to jump forward to. Okay, so this is my year in pixels over here. So my key here for reading and listening times. And that's just a little flip out. You can see I've already put 9 days worth of data on there. This challenge, I've already talked to you about the challenge. And then this is my local book club. I'm on the lookout for another book club in my area, and I'm hoping then I'll do that spread. This is my series and backlist tracker. You will recall that I said that this was not a good method for me as much as I liked the visual of having kind of bookshelves associated with it. I find this much more practical, so that would be in keeping with the tip that I gave you when I showed that, is to make it just easy. So for me, it was just about making it into a list. I actually like to see the titles anyway, not just the boxes, because I often forget where particular titles fall in order. So this is actually, I've added to this quite a lot since I last showed this spread. And I actually have that more on the next page. And then you'll see here that I have colored in this kind of orangey, shiny color for books that I have read in this year already. So 2 of them, 3, Sunrise on the Reaping as well. So that's how I will indicate that it was in 2025. excuse me. So that's how I will indicate that it was in 2026. I'm gonna pause a moment really quick too and speak about these tabs. So these tabs are just, I think, Avery regular labels. They actually just look like this, and they're kind of a post-it material. So all I've done is I've just colored them with a marker. I like to use these because, first of all, if I want to write something there, it's very easy for me to remove it, and I don't know if I'm going to keep those tabs in long term, but they do make it a lot easier if I want to jump really quickly to one of my challenges or something to that effect, or even to, let's see if I can get it in the light, even to January, which I promise is tabbed, but is in a bit of a shadow. So we'll see that in a minute. But these they peel off very easily, and then you can move them around. So I like this, and then I kind of color coded them like this light yellowish color for tracking areas, and then this kind of grayish color here for challenges. So I can easily jump around in here as I'm filling things out. And then I just have, these were my color testers that I did on a cutoff piece of this paper. So I just taped it in with this washi that I know peels off really nicely. And so I have reference over my washi where it's not going to be taking up space that I will probably use. So I just taped that in when I tested my marker colors, and I have which pen I'm using and so on. So another good tip for referencing back to things. This is my very big challenge. This is the main challenge that I'm doing this year. This is put out by Beyond the Bookends, which is a Facebook group. The moderator there does some very creative challenges. Effectively, there are, you can choose which of these 5 levels you want to do this challenge. There are 26 categories in here. You can see Beyond the Bookends and First Impressions, that's 2 of the categories, and then inside each category are 4 prompts. So depending on the level, you can accomplish, like let's say the level 2 is called Hen House. That means 26 books, which means you would complete 1 book out of each category. Right now I'm just shooting for a broody reader, which is basically 3 books out of every category, but I do hope to actually complete Mother Hen, which is all 104 books. So all 4 prompts in all 26 categories. I do think that would be fun, but I don't want to pressure myself. So right now I'm starting with broody reader. Then I made this little pocket here, and there are these wild cards. So this particular challenge has some wild cards, and they are mentioned here as well. So for example, I'm starting with broody reader, and I may substitute with 2 wild cards. So there are a number of wild cards here. I created these are from sticker paper, so I will be able to peel the back off, so that if I have a prompt that I just don't think I'm going to do, I could choose one of these wild cards to do it instead, and then I can put my book cover there and then put that sticker to say I've used one of my wild cards. So at the current level that I'm doing, I could use 2 of those wild cards, and if I do the full thing, then I can use 3. So those are my little wild cards there in their little pocket. And here you can see what the covers look like as I put them in and use them for the prompts. And then you may see here, I have in either friction or in pencil, I have different marks. This is another tip I would give you. If you decide that you're going to take on some big challenges like this in particular, or even some of the smaller ones, you'll see that one of the things that I'll do is you'll see these little asterisks that I put on. Those are prompts that I feel in advance may be more difficult for me to accomplish. So you'll see that some of them I've made those asterisks. The reason is that sometimes, most of these I don't actively go out and find a book for. They're books I'm going to read anyway, and then I just put them on here. But some of these are going to be more difficult. Like, they don't tend to come up in books I naturally read. So as I find a book, and I come out here to say, okay, well, I'm about to finish this book, which prompt would it fit? if it fits one with the star, I should do it for that one, because sometimes you'll find a book will fit 2 or 3 different prompts. But I've already indicated, especially on something this big with 104 prompts, I have already gone through and made a note of ones that I should prioritize if I have a choice between multiple prompts with one of the books I'm reading naturally. So I hope that makes sense. But you'll also see that I've written in books that I think that I fully plan to read and that will fit that prompt, likely fit that prompt. So those are my tips for that kind of a challenge experience. And then read what you own. You saw this one also in my previous journal. So here is the same challenge, set up exactly the same way from last year. I have left a few spaces because there will be books that I'll purchase that I do want to read the same year, but these are all physical or ebooks that I own that are kind of top of my list. I have well more than this that I would like to read that I own, but these are kind of ones that I've been saying for a bit now that I would like to read. You'll also notice that there are 2 on here that it says any Lucy Score or any Nicholas Sparks. I just happen to have a number of their books, and so I'm happy just to read any one of them to kind of count that, so to speak. There's no particular goals here or whatnot. It's just a way for me to kind of keep it in my awareness that I said I wanted to read some of these books that I already own. I do continue to add to this with books I already own, not new purchases, as it kind of, I'm reminded in some way that I do want to read them. But that's why I still have a few spots, but yeah, not a challenge, just a cute way to track it. And then here, of course, is Year of Goober. The theme for this Year of Goober is that the little ghostie is learning to bake because he wants to open a bakery. And so just as is the case with the previous years, there are 2 prompts that you could do for each month. I'm just going to do one of them. You only need to do one of them, and I've already completed, in this particular case, the one for January. Okay, the next 3 challenges are all from the Literally Bookish Book Club on Facebook. I am an active member there, and these are some of the challenges that they put out. So this one in particular is a monthly challenge with the genre. So the moderator will put out the genre a few days to a week or 2 before the next month, and they'll put out the genre that is the challenge to read there. This one here is an annual challenge that they do. They actually put out bookmarks for it as well. It's actually 20 prompts, and then once you complete those 20, then there are 5 more bonus prompts you can complete. It's not actually a bingo, but it's convenient to put it in a bingo style. So this is the bookmark they put out, so I just use that as the tip in. And then of course I've completed one book or used one of the books I read already for that space. This is also a challenge from the Literally Bookish Book Club. Same thing, a little before each month, the moderator will put out a postcard, and then your challenge is to read a book that in some way is inspired by that postcard. So you can probably see here that my book choice, the cover, has a ton of similarity to that particular postcard. So I've completed that already for January. And then here is that Romanceopoly challenge. You may recall from the flip through for last year that I had this situation going on with these cards. What I did for this year is, well, it's a whole different theme and a whole different process to complete the challenge. The cards are very much the same style. And so all I did was I shrunk them down, and then when I printed them on sticker paper, I could just print them this way, and then now you can see where I can just put the book cover right underneath it as I meet the requirement for that particular prompt. In this one, I'm going for the valedictorian level, so I have a core curriculum to complete, which everyone completes, and then my major, which I did romantic arts, my minor, which is dark psychology, and then there are a couple other areas that I didn't choose, but then the electives, and I need to print a header for that, but my electives, then I can choose from those other categories that I didn't choose as either my major or minor. And then to get valedictorian, you have to participate in a club and 1 season of the sports. So these are the ones that I've chosen. There are other prompts. Obviously, there's many other prompts for the other clubs and for the other games, but I'm just going to stick with, for now, these particular prompts to get the valedictorian level. Maybe I'll change my mind. I'm a big romance reader, so I may end up doing a tip in later and add the additional challenge, but for now I feel like this is good. And then this here is a spread that I am just doing to keep all of the book covers of all of the books that I have completed. I have finished 6 books so far this year, and then I just have these written in because I haven't yet printed the book covers. I do my printing in batches so that I don't waste sticker paper and all the different materials that I use to print book covers. So this is a common little occurrence in kind of my active things that are going on. This will continue to be created and built out, and the star things added underneath just as time goes on. So I do have enough space here. I have 4 pages, so there's room for, I can't remember, 230 something books, I think, if I do them all kind of in this spacing, because I can put 28 per page, and there are 8 pages. This is my DNF listing. I've already DNF'd 2 books for this year. I'm filming this on the 10th of January, so I'm a pretty prolific DNFer. If I'm just not feeling it, I will put it on pause. It doesn't necessarily mean that I won't ever read it, but sometimes it does. So that's why I did put a reason here as to why I have not finished it in that when I started it. So for example, The Princess Bride was on here, but I just wasn't in the mood, to be honest. And so I'm not saying forever for that one. I'm just saying, yeah, maybe some other time. So I do like to keep that list so I can go back and review. And then over here, I just decided I wanted a picture of my bookshelves for the start of the year effectively. So right at the end of 2025 with my cute little Christmas tree. And then I'll take a picture of it at near the end of 2026. And I'll just have that little visual reference too of the physical books that I owned. And then here we are in January. So I will be filling out this calendar similar to the way that I filled it out in my 2025 journal. So just a visual representation of the length of time in which I was interacting with the book, not necessarily the specific days. It doesn't mean I read or listened to those books on all of those days, but just that was the period of time in which I would have said I was reading or listening to that book. So I will do the same here. I've already have my key set up. Here I may put some stats or something down here. I'm not quite sure. And then this is my highly functional way of tracking what I'm actively reading. So this page is all done in Friction Pen, and as you can see, I am actively interacting with it now. So you can see that I have my 6 books that I have completed here already. That's with the little dot, what that means, and then my counts and so on. I won't go into how I'm using this, but I do have an extensive description of how I'm using this particular spread in the setup number 2 of this journal. So I'll have the link for that at the end if you're really curious or you want to nerd out on this, because it's a very nerdy page. Be aware. But effectively, as books get checked out for me in Libby, or I decide that I want to try to read them, physical books are here, audios are down here, then I am tracking things here. So I can see, for example, what dates I've read. If I DNF them, I put the star rating as I go along, just to have a quick reference here. And then this is a way that I can track whether or not I use them for a challenge, and it's an X. 1 slash is I plan to use it for one of my challenge, and then the X is I've actually put the book cover on that particular challenge, and so on. So I won't go into more detail than that because it gets kind of involved the way I use this, but this is hands down the most functional spread that I use. I used to do it in my planner, but I moved it into my book journal as an experiment for this year. So we'll see how that goes. I'll report back. But as you can see, very actively using it right now. And then after each monthly spread, I will have any challenges that I'm doing that are just for the month. So both of these are online book Facebook groups that yes, did I say that right? Yeah. Online book Facebook groups that I'm on, and challenges that they have. They have others, but these are the 2 that I most frequently participate in. If there are others, I will put them all here, because there will be others that might be 1 to 3 months. And so as the book gets built out, those will exist there as well. I just have my annual challenges here. So for this one, it's just a book bingo that gets put out. This is actually the one that led me to trying to get a blackout bingo, and when I really ramped up was just to see what would happen. I'm not going to try to do that at this time, but this is the board. The actual moderator puts the board out in this format. I just shrunk it down a bit and then printed it on sticker paper and stuck it right in there. So I get no credit for how pretty that is. But what I did, and I'm trying this time, is I took a piece of tracing paper basically, and I just taped it in here, and I'm putting my book covers right on top there, and that allows me to still be able to see the prompt without having to write it somewhere else or have a secondary reference. So we'll try it. It might get a little heavy, I think, with all the stickers with the covers on it, but we'll see. So that's how I'm trying. That's what I'm doing now for that. I have a couple more covers to put on here, but because this is a much smaller size than the standard I'm using in the rest of the book, I have to remember to make sure I put a smaller one in there. And then this is just a monthly challenge that the Next Chapter Book Club, also on Facebook, does. That is a 7 books that they have little prompts for, so keeping it really simple and using that. One more page to share with you, and that is what I haven't decided yet for this book is how I'm going to do reviews, because I really like the big pretty spreads, but I also know that it's easy to get behind on and to get overwhelmed with, which I spoke about in my tips in the 2025. So I have been playing in this page with, if I want to do just quick reviews, what might those look like? So I'll talk you through this. And I don't know, I haven't decided yet. If you have a thought, I would love to hear it, based on now what you've seen that I like to do. But basically, these are actually book covers of books that I read last year that a page printed two times once. So these were extra. I already have used these books, so I had them around, so I decided just to use them as samples. So I didn't stick them in, I just used more of that washi tape that comes off really easily and just tape them in. So effectively, one thought is I could do them 3 per page and then just do a quick review. These are just for spacing. So I like to do, as I got towards the later part of last year's books, I found that I liked having kind of this kind of standard information repeat on each of the reviews. I liked that idea, and it made it, because I made it kind of formulaic, I didn't have to keep thinking about it and finding new places like in other reviews. For example, let's go back to the beginning. Like in this, I put things in all different places, and then, may not have put, like this one, I can see I didn't put how many pages it was or the dates I actually read it. So things like that, because I wasn't kind of in the rhythm of what I would like to see on the actual review page. So I kind of liked, once I settled into this kind of more specific set of information that I just liked to just put on there automatically. So I cut out a little Post-it to about that size of how much space that took up in the other one, which meant I would have about this much space for review. And then I cut one down. I cut a couple of these book covers down. Obviously, it would be the whole book cover, just smaller, and was taking a look at what it would be if I did this a little smaller. So for reference, if you're in the US, I'm going to give these in inches. This is 2¼ inches, and then this is tall, and I just let this width be whatever it ends up being. I just let it stay proportional, and then this one is 2 inches tall. So I was just looking at the visual of, do I want to be able to, for example, put my star rating underneath as opposed to maybe here, and in which case I would have a smaller book cover and probably a little more space for review, maybe, but I have to be honest, I kind of like the look of the bigger covers. And then I might still go with what I ended up doing for the second part of last year, which is, I'm not going to, maybe I don't review all books. I don't know. So could use some help deciding. If you have any thoughts on that, I would love for you to share what you think. But that's why I'm playing with this particular layout, to decide that, because I won't have enough pages. I think I will have maybe 75 pages or so to do reviews. Likely I'll read around 150 books, so maybe more. I was at 200 and something last year, so I don't know. We'll see. So if you have an opinion on that, I would love to hear it. Anyway, so this is my book journal for 2026. I'll be making updates each month as I go along to share with you my progress on setting these up, how I'm doing on challenges and so on. If you have any questions about anything that you've seen, feel free to drop that in the comments, or if I've inspired you in any way, I would also like to see that in the comments. But thank you so much for taking the time to spend the day with me. I hope you have a very, very lovely rest of your day. Bye.